Okay, so first up is our warm-ups. We are writing out our coordinates for each of these. I know it's been a little while since we have done this. You probably didn't do this at all over the summer. So, just as a reminder, on the x-axis, is the right side or the left side the positive side? Yep, it's going to be that right side. On the y-axis, is the top or the bottom the positive? Top, exactly right. So can somebody tell me the coordinates to point A?
2, 1.
So we go back 1, 2. So what direction is that? -2. And then up 1. You are correct. Nice job. Okay, next up, let's change my color. Can somebody tell me the coordinates to B? Yes, ma'am? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 0. After that, we have C. Can somebody tell me C? Okay, Trinity, are you raising your hand? No. Okay, so Jaquan? 3, -2. So we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, -2. And then up front, DeMarcus, I saw you had your hand up. You want to tell me D? -1, -3. -1, 1, 2, 3. -1, -3. Do we have any questions on any of this? Our objective today, imagine that does not say the, it says to, and you're writing this at the top of your page. So imagine that word there is to. You're going to be able to name points, lines, segments, rays, planes, collinear points, and coplanar points. So that is our objective for today. So, vocabulary. I am going to read them. I'll give you guys time to write them, and then I'll probably reread them, okay? So our first one up is the definition of geometry. It has a Greek origin from the words geo and metric, and when you combine those, geo has that earth, right? Metric means to measure, so it means measuring the earth. We have a point. It's a location in space that has no size. It is represented by a dot. When we write out points, we're going to see that soon. I'm going to give you an example off to the side. We put a dot, and then we put a capital letter. So point A. A line is a never-ending straight path that is used to determine, is never-ending straight path that is determined by 2 points and has one dimension. You can use any 2 points on that line, and when we name it, we put the arrows on the sides. So I could have line AB. I'm going to write that here, AB, as my example. Put the arrows on the sides. And the last one on this page is a segment, a line with a definite beginning and end. The endpoints are used to name the segment. So we can name that as AB as well, but no arrows on it. 3. Our first one is a ray. A ray is a line with an endpoint that continues on indefinitely in one direction. We name a ray by the endpoint. That endpoint always comes first. So if we had a ray, I'm going to draw a little example here, and it was ray AB. We would name that AB with the endpoint, no arrow on the far side, arrow on the side that it continues towards that one. Then we have non-collinear points. Well, collinear, right? Co means together, linear line, so they're all on the same line. So non-collinear points are points that are not on the same line, and collinear points are points that lie on the same line. First one up is a plane. A plane has 2 dimensions. You guys are probably most familiar with the XY plane. It's right over there on the far side. Yep, he's pointing to it for me. It's represented by a shape that looks like the floor. So technically, you could look at our classroom and you could see that the floor is a plane, and then our wall could intersect it to make it that 3D. You can look at any 3 points, or you can use any 3 points in a plane that are not on the same line to name the plane. Any 3 points that are not collinear to name the plane. We have coplanar points. Those are points that lie on the same plane. We have non-coplanar points, points that do not lie on the same plane. And we have a postulate. A postulate is a statement that is accepted without proof. Okay, so we're going to name points, lines, segments, rays, and planes. So I'm going to start up top and write points. So when you look at this photo, I tried to put it on your page so you could see it maybe a little clearer than what I have. I want to make sure you can picture what's happening. This blue one here is like this wall, right? And the one that looks like it's another shade of blue or a green, that's going to be like the floor, and it's cutting through. So you see this one is cutting through, and this is like the wall. Okay, so what points do we have? Points are represented by that dot and a capital letter. Jaquan? D, E, and F. So when you're listing out those points, you see that these are all points because they all have the little circular dot representing that point. That is correct. Next up, we have lines. One line, we have two ways to name it, and the other one, we only have one. So when I'm looking at this first line, we know it's a line because it has arrows going in both directions. We can name a line with any 2 points on the line. Can somebody tell me what 2 points are on that line? Natalie? Yep, we have DE. And you can draw it with the little arrows on top. So when we're naming a line, we put the arrows on both sides so we know that it's a line. But this one also is named another way. So you see this little P here? It's lingering off to a side. P is not a point. You can tell it kind of looks a little italics. We can see that that is the name for the line. So you could name it by 2 points, or that same line could be named as line P. So you can name it either way, and either way would be correct, but you're still only naming one line. We have one more line. Can anybody tell me what that line is? Yes? Line M, yep. Line M has no other points on it, and we see that it just tells you the name there, so you know you can't name it by the 2 points. It has to be line M. After that, we have segments. Segments are named by the endpoints. So segments can be part of lines. Can anybody tell me what they think the segment in this picture would be? So, yep, Kevin?
Arc.
So you're getting close, but R is going to be something else. So I'll get to that one in 1 second. Jaquan? So you're also getting close, similar ideas. So let's, Natalie? Okay, no, it's okay. You guys at least tried. I love it when you guys try, especially when we're introducing something new. So segments are parts of lines. So we see that we have a part of a line that has 2 points that are connected right here. So DE itself can be a segment, but to name it as a segment, we put a line over the top of it. It does not have arrows on the ends like the line. It's just a line without arrows. So I'm going to highlight what that one looks like on our page. So I'm going to put a box around it just so you know which one I'm talking about. So DE itself is the segment that begins at D and goes to E. It's just that portion of the line. Next up, we have arrays. So I think of naming all of these, naming the arrays is the most confusing. When we name array, the end point, the point that is just stopped, not continuing on, is always what goes first. So the only line that has points on it right here is going to be this line P still, right? So we have 2 rays that are on that line. We have, let's try it again, ray D, E, where the end point is at D and it continues on past E. So I'm going to show you how that's written. We have D, E. You write it like this with an arrow on the end, it continues. I'm going to show you what that looks like highlighted. So I'm going to box that in purple because that's the one I'm going to draw next. I'm probably going to draw it next to the figure so you can see it a little clearer. Yes, ma'am?
You put BS.
Oh, thank you. Nice call. D-E. Thank you. Okay, so D-E, it has this portion, the D is written first, so that tells you it's the end point. So it would be the equivalent of this line here, starting at D, and it's going on past E. Imagine that was straight. Let's try it again. So that's what this one would look like. the ray DE would be stopped at D and then continue on in the direction of E. And then we also have ray ED. So I'm going to write that one out. ED. Now it is stopped at E and continues in the direction of D. Again, I'm going to draw that. I'm going to put a box around it in the color I'm drawing it in. So that would start here at E and it would continue in this direction. So it starts at E and continues on up here. Are you guys okay with how that looks? I feel like this could be the most confusing part of the whole thing. Okay, we'll have more practice so that you'll have a chance to try it out. Okay, next up, we have planes. So we've had 2 people name planes already. So when we name planes, we can name it by 3 non-collinear points. But in both of these planes, the blue one here and the green one, neither of them have 3 points on them, right? This one has DE, and this one right here has just F. So there are no 3 points on either of the planes. So the other way to name a plane is you'll see that there is a bold letter in the corner. So, Kevin, you told me one earlier. What is it? R. So we have plane R. And Jaquan, what did you tell me yours was? Q. Yep, plane Q. And we have to write the name plane in front of it. So the first one is exactly 2 points determine a line. You saw when we named lines that we used just 2 points. 2 points determine a line. After that, 3 non-collinear points determine exactly one plane. So 3 points that are not in a line determine a plane.